Modern European ballet seems far removed from the traditional tribal dances of the Australian Aboriginal. It's very difficult to see any connection between these two forms of dancing. But one man, choreographer Yuri Killian, has tried to seek out the universal qualities that underlie both modern ballet and a style of dancing that has miraculously survived throughout 40,000 years of isolation from the Western world.
So I would like you to...
Yuri Killian's long search for these universal qualities began in 1972. After training with the Royal Ballet in London, he was working at the Stuttgart Ballet in Germany when he chanced to see a television documentary that included some Aboriginal dancing. Killian was surprised to find that these people, who were widely supposed to be primitive, were already using some of the dance elements he was then trying to achieve in his own work. The Czech-born dancer developed into one of Europe's leading choreographers. He became artistic director and principal choreographer for the Netherlands Dance Theatre. And more than 10 years after his interest in Aboriginal dancing had first been aroused, Yuri Killian created an unique and original ballet inspired by tribal dance. He named this ballet Stamping Ground.
Creating this dance, it made me want to discover a common denominator that ties those cultures together, or that finds something that is in common. Of course, the sheer geographical distance between Holland, the country where our company is based, and the Arnhem Land of Australia is vast, is as far as can be, and so are the cultures.
Yuri Killian had the opportunity to observe Aboriginal culture at first hand. He traveled more than 24,000 kilometers to attend the largest gathering of tribal dancers that had ever assembled in Australia, held on a remote island off the northern coast. Groot Island was named by the earliest Dutch explorers, and it was here that a new Dutch ballet was conceived. Killian was one of the few European guests among more than 500 tribespeople brought together by the Aboriginal Cultural Foundation. Dancers from 20 different localities travelled from areas within Australia which are as far apart as London is from Athens or Moscow is from Amsterdam. The tribes have no common native language. They can only communicate through basic English. For Yuri Killian, this was a familiar situation. English is the only common language amongst the dancers of all nations who make up his world-famous dance company. But the Australian dancers also had another, a non-verbal means of communication. They brought traditional dances with them from their local areas, sharing their mystic experiences with other tribes. Their songs and dances were created by the ancestral heroes of their ancient dream time, the time of the beginning of the world, and passed down since then through the generations in sacred trust. Each tribe has its own dreaming, which is made up of their inherited legends and new songs and dances created, or dreamed, as they call it, within their own traditions.
When they dance, the concentration and the importance of what they are doing is so enormous, like I've never seen it before. What was happening, for instance, in the first evening, in the first night of the gathering was so overwhelming that I think I was too excited, I got too emotional about the whole thing to be really able to see what was going on from the technical point of view. And I didn't resist it. I enjoyed being just taken away, taken beyond myself by that first happening. But then later on, I tried to analyze and I tried to see some technical things in their dancing that I find very important. Some of them I knew of, some of them I used in my own choreography, but some of them were very new for me. For instance, there are many ways of stamping, and every tribe has its own way of stamping, and it has to do with the country it comes from. The place of origin of these people has to do with the way they walk, with the way they look, and with the way they dance. This was a great revelation for me to see that the dance is absolutely tied with nature here. It cannot be separated. Because the people, the dancers here, it's part of their life. They cannot divide their normal life and dancing. It is their normal life is part of dancing, and dancing is part of their normal life. I think there is not another culture which has this melting of private life and dance like they have it here. I was very much aware, being in Australia, that the traditional possession of the land by the Aboriginals is of vital importance. This territory that is originally owned and traditionally owned by the Aboriginals is slowly being destroyed by not by evil thoughts of the white people, but just because of their different mentality. With the loss of this Aboriginal land, the tradition, the traditional culture of the Aboriginals is getting destroyed. And I think this is one of the most important things that should be prevented.
Yuri Killian had a rare opportunity to observe the Aboriginal way of life while attending the gathering on Groote Island.
Seeing this extraordinary gathering of Aboriginals, of these many tribes, I was amazed about the incredible input of energy and belief by the Aboriginal leaders and the Aboriginal Cultural Foundation that are under considerable difficulties trying to keep their cultural tradition alive. And I was even more amazed that the young people were so greatly represented in this festival. And seeing so many young people made me believe that there is a possibility for the future of the Aboriginals, and that their culture can be not only kept but developed and passed from generation to generation. the most wonderful thing here is that you have always a group. They almost always dance in a group, or the group participates in one way or another. When they dance, they're not trying to outdo each other. They are not trying to prove that they can do it better than the other. No, they dance for themselves, but yet they're always part of the group. And it's actually so funny, because this is the principle that I would like for my company to be. And it is to a great extent, but it's very difficult to have it that way because we don't think that way. Our way of thinking is to beat the other, to compete, and to show that I'm better. But here it's not that way. They use their personality to a great, great extent, but not to compete with the other, to be part of the whole thing.
Many Aboriginal themes are expressed through a cycle of quite brief, separate dances. In some of these, Yuri Killian's perceptive eye found a variety of new dance techniques, which added to the inspiration he was gaining from the tribespeople.
They have a wonderful way of use of their hands. There is never any kind of strange mannerism that derives from the difficulty of the leg movement. They're always expressive, a revelation for me. I knew it was supposed to be like that, but to actually see it in such a natural way, hardly anywhere. There are dances that are derived from movements of animals, endless number of dances of this kind. Choreography, I can really call it choreography because it is. Wonderful hundreds of different ways of walking. The way of walking they choose always has to do with the particular dance. Maybe they're imitating a kangaroo, maybe they're imitating an emu, maybe they do a war dance. Every kind of walk for every kind of dance is different and significant for the dance they're doing. They have a phenomenal way of jumping. They are able to jump without a preparation. That means that for us, in order to get off the ground, one goes into the ground first to get the strength and then go up. They jump, they are already in the ground. And it's like a spring that releases. They are suddenly in the air and you don't know how it happened. The use of counter movement is another very important thing of their dance. And that is something that I'm trying to do in my choreography as well. It gives length to the movement. If you're reaching one way and you use the other part of the body reaching the other way, the movement is prolonged and has much more driving quality. There is one principle that is so wonderful in this dancing, is that every dancer has a center to his dancing, and I mean a physical center, from which the whole energy of the dance comes, and that is the stomach area. And it's so wonderful to see how they use the weight of the center, to be able to use their limbs in such a way that it expresses their feelings, it expresses whatever they want to express in that particular dance. That was really an experience. It's something that I was looking for. In a way, every well-trained classical dancer should have it, but it's never so obvious like in those in the dancing of the Aborigines.
Yuri Killian had understood that for the Aboriginal people, the art of dance is not art for art's sake. Dance plays an important part in ensuring the spiritual well-being and social cohesion of the tribal group. In this traditional ceremony, the educational function of the clan is symbolized through the rearing of an emu chick. The men represent the emu mother spirits, touching the newborn chick and encouraging him to walk. The bird mother's educational function is the same as that of a human mother, and as that of the clan. The song says that they will teach the little boy how and where to wash and what kind of food he should eat. In a society where every member of the tribe is a performer, dancing is even used to pass on the tribal laws. A man has broken the sacred traditional law. He attempts to escape retribution by fleeing into the wilderness, but is tracked down by the ancestral warriors. The sun is high, and the lawbreaker is thirsty. He refreshes himself at a water scrape before fighting against the spirits of justice. Ancestral law is stronger than the individual. He is executed according to tribal custom. The designs painted on dancers' bodies are not mere decoration, but identify a person's area and tribe. Whether on bodies or on bark, painted symbols have ritual significance and belong to specific tribal groups. The initiated can read these seemingly abstract shapes like reading maps or books. Most Aboriginal art is sacred, involved with ceremonies retelling ancient legends or marking the stages of a person's progress to more profound states of religious knowledge. The most holy rituals are performed in carefully guarded privacy. The secret sacred objects and dances may only be seen by the initiated of the particular tribe who've inherited the ceremonies from their ancestral heroes. Painted images or songs and dances that do not reveal the inner core of religious belief are regarded as public sacred and may be seen by the uninitiated. When the dancers from different regions gathered together on Grote Island, many gained their first opportunity to share in the religious experiences of different tribes and clans, whose ceremonies may have a similar basis, but have great variation in forms of expression. It took a long time for Europeans, who started settling Australia from 1788, to recognize that Aboriginal dancing, rather than being quaint, pagan, even barbaric, actually had strong and meaningful religious significance. By 1901, when this scene was filmed, perceptive Europeans were beginning to acknowledge the importance of Aboriginal dance forms and ceremonies. Today, Aboriginal culture is becoming known and respected throughout the world. Tribal dancers have been invited to appear at festivals in Rome and Paris. In 5 American cities, a variety of regional dance forms have been seen by appreciative audiences. Some of the touring Aboriginal dance groups had met each other for the first time on Groot Island, where they'd attended the first large-scale gathering of tribal dancers. It was at this gathering that choreographer Yuri Killian gained his new inspiration.
It was a wonderful thing when in the last night they were going to dance from 2 o'clock in the afternoon through the whole night until sunrise next morning. And one could see how they started with good energy and with performing for the audience. But around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, the audience started going away or going to sleep or whatever. And the dancers were trying to maintain their energy although there was no audience around. In that moment, you realized how important it is to have a group, because the group was maintaining the energy. It was no longer the individuals. But they used all their personality and all their strength and stamina to be able to dance through the night. But then, suddenly I felt that something started raising again. That from somewhere, there was an enormous strength coming into the veins of all the people that were still on the dancing ground. And I didn't at first realize what it was. And then when I looked over to the horizon, I saw it got a little paler.
The tired dancers had seen the morning star, their sacred messenger, bringing an assurance that the spirits would once more send their gift of daylight to the world.
And the people, the faces have relaxed, and they started opening their arms. And the dancing started being free and stronger until the sun went up. It was such a wonderful feeling that I almost started singing the Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. It really lifted everything off the ground. And then I had the feeling they could go on dancing forever. When they overcame this difficult moment, forever. It was a beautiful experience. It was such a overwhelming experience that it'll take me a long time, probably the rest of my life, to really be able to realize what I've actually seen. You see, if you go from country to country and see dance, and I've seen a lot, and I've seen a lot of choreography, professional choreography, one gets bored after a while, and we need new food. The art of dance needs new food, and I was very much looking for it for a number of years, and I think I found it here.
Yuri Killian had resolved to create a ballet based on his impressions of Aboriginal culture. 30 years before, an Australian choreographer had tried to give European form to his impressions of Aboriginal dancing. The ballet was called corroboree, after the Aboriginal name for a gathering involving dancing. Although it was a sincere attempt at the time to translate the Aboriginal dance idiom into Western ballet, it is, by today's standards, a weak imitation, based on an outside view of the motivations for Aboriginal ceremonies. Yuri Killian chose a more difficult and perceptive approach when developing his ballet.
In creating this dance, Stamping Ground, I wanted to make sure that I was working from the point of view of inspiration and not from the point of view of imitation, which in any case would be regarded as theft by the Aboriginals, because their culture, their dances, their songs and their stories is in their possession, because this is the only thing that they possess and that they are proud of. So if I would want to make a stage presentation of something that has to do with this culture, I am not allowed to use their vocabulary. I have to, from my own understanding, I have to create my own vocabulary.